Welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And I really hope that everybody is doing really, really well. There's nothing more powerful than a moment of presence. I want to say that again. Really, honestly, truthfully, there's nothing more powerful. And just take that in for a moment. Nothing more powerful than a moment of presence. Or a moment of directing your attention towards your own experience just the way it is arising in a moment. And that really is at the core of our practice together, which I invite you to right now in this moment. The core of it is be here now, just the way you are, with whatever is happening or however you are in a moment. You know, we have been speaking lately about tenderness and kindness and the importance of it, how important it is that we just approach what arises with kindness. And that also translates into a real acceptance of what is, like whatever is, wherever you are at, whatever is happening, that's where we have to start. We have to begin here. And of course, you know, when I say be here now, just the way you are, however you are in the moment, so often that is easier said than done, right? And that's why we are sitting together. That's why we are learning what it means to be here. And that's why we are growing in trust and growing in kindness and tenderness and in our ability to be present to what is. And as I have been sitting with you over the past several weeks in programs and in private sessions, what I notice is that there are a couple of areas of our work together that need more clarification and more strengthening, both. And that is the process of inquiry with all its steps and with the question, is it okay? And the ability to discriminate between thought, feeling, sensation, emotion, and be able to notice sensation, to really zero in. It's a very special kind of attention, to really zero in on sensation when past is present, so that we can really help the nervous system and brain to be here. So the steps of inquiry, it's not just the steps of inquiry, but what I want to share with you again, or maybe anew, for some of you this might be really new. You know, the whole process, where is this coming from? Why is it so important to ask this question, is it okay? How that question really reveals the sense of I, how it reveals our relationship with what is, how we could do a lot of different, practices, but until we have clarified where we are really at with what is, we can't really be here, right? This is such an important part of this inquiry. Also to understand that the natural okayness, that's already here. And the more we are in alignment with that, not with an idea, not in some kind of striving, some kind of ego striving to be okay with what is, but in reality, in finding that okayness over and over and over and over again, the less suffering we experience. And the other area is, the ability to notice sensation. And, even for us who have been doing this for a long time, there really still needs to be a greater discrimination between thought, feeling, sensation, emotion. And a stronger habit of really relying on noticing of sensations when past is present. So often when we speak, I notice that area still needs strengthening, so that when past is present, that we have that ability to anchor here and to trust. This is such a big part of it, to trust that we can enter into the moment by noticing sensations in the body. That even though there's a lot going on, mental, physical, emotional, that if we really focus on sensation, that we are going to be able to be here, and the nervous system and brain is going to be supported in its ability to be here, and that we are going to enter into the present moment when we are able to do that. So I want to focus on these two areas, and of course the various skills of inquiry also in our upcoming 3-week intensive, which begins on January 4th, goes for 3 consecutive Sundays. And I am very much looking forward. And you can sign up for the first week or the last 2 or all 3, of course. And I'm very much looking forward to this time together. I just want to bring us back to the basics and renew our ability to enter into presence through inquiry, into presence and into trust, which is so key for awakening, embodiment, and freedom.